The shortcut. That ended 100 yards from her front door. Subscribe if you're brave enough to walk home alone tonight. It was supposed to be a 5-minute walk. Lauren Keller, 28, left her friend's house in the small town of Maple Hollow just after 11:45 p.m. A cool mist floated through the streets, wrapping the streetlights in a halo of pale gold. She was tired, slightly chilled, and didn't want to take the long route home. The cemetery shortcut would get her there faster. Her house sat just beyond the cemetery's rear gate. She could see its faint porch light even from here. The path was uneven and cracked, the kind of place kids dared each other to walk through on Halloween. Locals said the cemetery was older than the town itself. Lauren never believed the stories. People talked about seeing shapes in the fog, hearing footsteps that echoed when no one was there. But tonight, she just wanted to be home. She texted her mother at 11:52. "On my way, almost home." That message would be the last thing she ever sent. The following morning, her neighbor, Donna Reed, noticed something strange. Lauren's shoes were sitting neatly by her front door, both soaked with dew, their laces untied. But there was no sign of Lauren. Her phone, keys, and bag were missing. The front door was locked from the inside. When police arrived, they assumed she'd gone missing elsewhere, until they checked her home security camera. It showed her gate opening at 11:55 p.m. The porch light flickered once, and then nothing. She never appeared on the feed. The next motion detection was hours later, 3:02 a.m., when the camera caught a faint shadow passing across the lens, almost human-shaped but too tall, too thin, too still. Detective Miles Carter was assigned the case. His team retraced Lauren's path through the cemetery. The early morning fog was still thick, muffling every SE. Taking the shortcut home and never making it past her door. They said if you walked that way alone, she'd walk beside you, just to make sure you didn't leave her behind again. But when Carter pulled up the old case photo, his stomach dropped. The woman's name on the file was Lauren Keller. Detective Miles Carter didn't sleep. The name Lauren Keller echoed in his mind like a looping whisper. The archived report he found wasn't digital. It was a yellowed folder buried deep in the police records room, stamped with a date that shouldn't exist, October 21st, 1953. Inside were 3 photos. The first showed the same cemetery path, but without trees. It was newer, rawer. The second photo showed a young woman in black and white, smiling faintly for what looked like a driver's license picture. Below the image, Lauren M. Keller, age 28. The third photo made his hands shake, an evidence shot of 2 shoes placed neatly by a front door. The report ended abruptly. No body, no suspect, no conclusion, just a scribbled note in the margin. They always stop right before home. Carter closed the file and glanced out his window. Morning fog still blanketed Maple Hollow, thick and endless, rolling like waves through the streets. He could see Lauren's house from here, police tape fluttering, her porch light still flickering on and off at random intervals. At 9:03 a.m., his phone buzzed. Forensics had something. The soil samples from the footprints weren't from the cemetery. The particles were older, the kind of soil found under it, compacted for centuries. When they examined the residue closer, they discovered traces of decayed cloth fibers, consistent with burial linens. The cemetery had moved once before, decades ago, relocated after heavy flooding in the 1950s. The original site had been beneath the very street Lauren lived on. By noon, Carter was walking through the cemetery, not going to believe this. There, among the headstones, one grave stood freshly disturbed, the dirt loose, flowers toppled. A new nameplate had been added. Carter's chest went cold as he leaned closer to read it. Lauren Keller, 1995-2024, but beneath it, etched faintly into the older stone, Lauren M. Keller, 1925-1953, the same grave, 2 names, 2 lives, 1 coffin. And as the wind swept through the graves, Carter heard it again, a woman's voice echoing through the fog, gentle, calm, and close. She just wanted to go home. Excellent, you've chosen A, the tragic loop ending, where Detective Carter becomes part of the haunting itself. Detective Miles Carter didn't leave the cemetery for the rest of that night. He stood at the twin headstones of Lauren Keller, 1953, and Lauren Keller, 2024, the fog curling around his boots like breath from something sleeping below. Every instinct told him to leave, to get in his car, forget this case, write it off as a coincidence. But he couldn't. The air was wrong here, too still. The mist didn't move with the wind. It pulsed, expanding and contracting in rhythm, like it was alive. By dawn, Carter's coffee had gone cold. His partner, Rita McLean, sat in the cruiser watching him through the windshield. She didn't say a word. She could see it on his face. The case had stopped being police work. It had become something else, something personal. Carter finally broke the silence. "We're missing something. There's a reason this keeps happening." Rita frowned. "You think it's the same person?" He nodded slowly. "Not the same pattern. The same moment repeating the same life lived twice." She didn't answer. She just turned away toward the fog. "You sound like the stories my grandmother used to tell." Carter gave a weak smile. "Maybe she was smarter than we are." They packed up, but Carter stayed behind a minute longer. He knelt near the GR. The initials LMK shimmered faintly. Rita continued, "There's something else. The age analysis of the fingerprints, they ran it through a temporal database. The pattern degradation lines up with tissue that's been dead 70 years. Carter didn't answer. He just looked out the window at the cemetery gate glowing faintly through the fog. "You're not thinking about going back there tonight," Rita said. "I need to see something for myself." "Miles." He hung up before she could finish. The fog was thicker than ever. It clung to his jacket, muffled his footsteps, and swallowed sound. His flashlight cut a narrow path through the white haze. Halfway down the trail, he found the gate where her footprints had ended. He stopped. The soil beneath his boots was soft again, freshly turned. He crouched. The bracelet slipped from his pocket and landed on the ground with a dull thud. He reached for it and froze. A bare footstep appeared beside his hand. Then another. He stood slowly. The fog shifted. A figure stood a few feet ahead, facing away. Wet hair clung to her shoulders. Her clothes were faded, her skin faintly glowing in the pale light. "Lauren?" he whispered. The woman turned. Her face was calm, but her eyes empty, white like drowned glass. "You shouldn't have followed," she said softly. He swallowed hard. "Where are you? What is this?" Her expression flickered sadness, anger, longing all at once. "You walk the path. You become the path." "I only wanted to go home." "I can help you," he said. "I can stop this." She smiled faintly. "You already did." And then she pointed behind him. Carter turned and froze. The fog had pulled back, revealing the town below. His cruiser parked near the gate. The faint glow of streetlights, and just beyond them himself, standing at the gate, flashlight raised, staring into the fog. He looked back at her. But she was gone. The bracelet lay at